They called them the wolf children, but not because they were wild. These were the forgotten victims of Nazi Germany, the generation that grew up singing Hitler's songs and wearing his uniforms. What happened to these millions of young minds after their world crumbled in 1945? The answer would shock even the most seasoned historians. Imagine waking up one morning to discover everything you were taught to believe was a lie. This was the reality for over 8 million German children who had been members of the Hitler Youth and League of German Girls. Their story is perhaps one of history's most chilling examples of mass indoctrination and its aftermath. "My father was not a monster," insisted Gudrun Himmler in 1945. She was the daughter of Heinrich Himmler, Hitler's head of the SS. The world is wrong, not him. She would maintain this belief until her death in 2018, working tirelessly to support former Nazi officers. But her story is just the tip of the iceberg. Deep in the ruins of Berlin, children as young as 10 were fighting the Red Army in the war's final days. They had been trained to believe death for the fatherland was the highest honor. When the war ended, these child soldiers didn't just disappear. They had to somehow build new lives in a world that now viewed their entire upbringing as an abomination. The psychological toll was staggering. Many of these former Hitler Youth members experienced what psychiatrists would later term collective trauma. Some, like Werner Schuy, spent decades unable to trust any authority figure. "How do you learn to think for yourself?" he wrote in his 1979 memoir, "when your childhood was spent being taught not to think at all?" But perhaps the most haunting legacy was the silence. In thousands of homes across post-war Germany, there was an unspoken rule: never mention the past. Children who had once proudly worn swastika armbands now raised their own children in an atmosphere of suffocating secrecy. The psychological impact would echo through generations. Eva Müller, who joined the League of German Girls at age 10, didn't speak about her experiences until she was 87. When she finally did, she revealed something shocking. "The hardest part wasn't unlearning the hatred," she said. "It was realizing that the people who taught us to hate were the ones we loved most. Our parents, our teachers, our leaders. Some took radical paths to redemption. Karl-Heinz Schulze, once a fanatical member of the Hitler Youth, spent 40 years working with Jewish organizations to combat anti-Semitism. Others, like Ilse Koch's children, changed their names and disappeared into anonymity, carrying their burden in silence. The story of Hitler's children forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. How do you rebuild a moral compass when everything you were taught was wrong? How many generations does it take to unlearn hatred? And perhaps most disturbingly, could it happen again? Today, as extremism rises globally, the stories of these children serve as both warning and lesson. Their experiences reveal the dangerous malleability of young minds and the long-lasting impact of systematic indoctrination. Yet they also show humanity's remarkable capacity for change and redemption. The children of Hitler's Germany didn't choose their childhood, but their struggle to reconcile their past with their future shaped modern Germany in ways we're only beginning to understand. Their story isn't just about the past. It's a mirror reflecting our own susceptibility to manipulation and the eternal challenge of breaking free from inherited beliefs. The next time you hear someone say, "It couldn't happen here," remember, millions of ordinary children once woke up to find themselves on the wrong side of history. The real question is, what would we do if it happened to us? History's darkest chapters aren't written in battlefields or bunkers, but in the minds of children whose innocence became a weapon. The transformed youth of Nazi Germany stand as living testaments to both humanity's capacity for indoctrination and its power to break free from ideological chains. Their legacy echoes an eternal warning. The most dangerous battlefield isn't fought with guns and tanks, but in the malleable minds of the young.